echoes across the frozen Montana plains, shattering the fragile peace left behind by the Dutton legacy. But this isn't the end. It's the brutal dawn of something darker. Welcome to Marshals Season 1, Episode 1, where Case Dutton trades his rancher's hat for a badge, plunging into a world of high-stakes hunts and hidden enemies that make Yellowstone look like child's play. In the gripping opener of Marshals, we pick up 15 months after the chaotic finale of Yellowstone, where the once mighty Dutton Ranch has been sold off, and the family scattered like dust in the wind. Case Dutton, played by the intense Luke Grimes, is no longer the conflicted son torn between loyalty and survival. He's a man haunted by his past, a former Navy SEAL whose skills in combat were forged in fire, now trying to carve out a quiet life with his son Tate and the remnants of his world on the Broken Rock Reservation. But peace? That's a luxury Case can't afford. The episode, titled Pia Wikoni, Lakota for New Beginning, kicks off with a pulse-pounding flashback to Case's days in the SEALs, shoulder to shoulder with his old teammate Pete Calvin, portrayed by Logan Marshall Green. Bullets fly, explosions rock the screen, and we see the raw bond that saved their lives in a distant war zone. It's a stark reminder. Case isn't just a cowboy, he's a warrior, and that edge is about to be tested again. Cut to the present, and the tension builds slowly but relentlessly. Case's new reality is one of uneasy calm, living close to his allies on the reservation. Thomas Rainwater, the steadfast tribal chairman brought back by Gil Birmingham, and Mo, the wise and watchful Mo brings plenty. They're more than friends, they're family now, especially after the losses that gutted the Duttons. Tate, Case's teenage son, played by Brecken Merrill, is growing up fast in this harsh environment, carrying the weight of his grandfather's shadow and his father's secrets. The script masterfully weaves in these personal threads, making every quiet moment feel like the calm before a storm. You can sense the suspense mounting as Case tries to leave the violence behind, but the writers know better. Trouble always finds a Dutton. Then comes the hook that pulls Case back into the fray. An old friend calls, Pete Calvin, now leading an elite unit of U.S. Marshals based in Montana. Pete's team is on the scent of a bomber targeting the Broken Rock Reservation, a threat that hits too close to home for Case. What starts as a simple favor, helping track down leads, quickly spirals into something far more dangerous. The Marshals aren't your typical lawmen. They're a tight-knit squad blending modern tactics with old-school grit. We meet Belle Skinner, the sharp-shooting strategist played by Ariel Kebbel, who's all business but hides a vulnerability that adds layers to the team dynamic. Then there's Miles Kittle, Tatanka Means' no-nonsense operative with deep ties to the land, and Andrea Cruz, Ash Santos's tech-savvy marshal, who uncovers clues that others miss. Together they form a unit that's as dysfunctional as it is deadly, and Case's arrival shakes things up right away. As the investigation unfolds, the suspense ratchets up with each revelation. Hidden cameras spotted on reservation land, a dead informant carved with a warning, and laser sights trained on innocent lives. These aren't random acts. They're part of a calculated plot by an anti-government militia, armed to the teeth and hiding in the rugged backcountry. The writers, led by creator Spencer Hudnut, keep the pacing tight, dropping hints that make you question everyone's motives. Is this attack personal, tied to the Duttons' old enemies? Or is it something bigger, a shadow war over land and power that echoes Yellowstone's core conflicts? Case's cowboy instincts clash with the Marshals' protocols, creating friction that's electric. Pete pushes him to join officially, but Case resists, knowing the psychological toll this life demands. Balancing duty with his role as a father to Tate and his loyalty to Rainwater and Mo, Case walks a razor's edge. Mo's chilling line, "Violence has a way of finding the Duttons," hangs in the air like a prophecy, foreshadowing the chaos to come. The episode builds to a heart-pounding midpoint confrontation, where the team closes in on a militia hideout. Bullets whiz, strategies unravel, and alliances are tested in the heat of battle. But it's not just action, it's the emotional undercurrent that grips you, the mental scars from Case's SEAL days resurfacing, the fear for Tate's safety, and the unspoken grief over lost family. Marshals isn't afraid to dive deep into the darkness, exploring themes of trauma, justice, and redemption in a way that's more procedural than Yellowstone but no less intense. By the end of this section of the episode, you're left breathless, wondering if this new beginning is really a descent into hell. The stakes are sky high, and with enemies already infiltrating from within, trust becomes the rarest commodity in Montana's wild expanse. The raid on the militia compound explodes into pure chaos, turning the Montana night into a battlefield of fire and shadows. Case Dutton moves like a ghost through the trees, his old SEAL instincts kicking in as he flanks the enemy positions, while Pete Calvin's team lays down suppressive fire. Bullets rip through the air, splintering wood and kicking up dirt. It's raw, unrelenting action that feels more immediate than anything Yellowstone ever threw at us. But this isn't just a shootout. It's the moment where Case realizes he can't walk away from this fight. One militia fighter slips through the lines, detonating a secondary device that rocks the ground and sends debris flying. The team scrambles, pulling injured members to safety, and in the smoke and confusion, Case spots something chilling. A symbol etched into a weapon crate, one that ties back to bigger threats lurking in the shadows of the reservation. As the dust settles, the episode shifts gears into tense aftermath. The Marshals secure the site, cuffing the surviving suspects. But the bomber they're after, the real mastermind, is still out there. Andrea Cruz pores over recovered laptops and phones in the makeshift command post, her fingers flying across keys as she uncovers encrypted messages hinting at a larger network. "This wasn't random," she says quietly, her voice cutting through the exhaustion. "They're planning something bigger, targeting Rainwater directly to spark a war." The revelation lands like a punch. Thomas Rainwater, ever the calm strategist, arrives on scene with Mo at his side, surveying the damage to tribal land. Their faces tell the story. Gratitude mixed with deep worry. Rainwater pulls Case aside for a private word, reminding him of the fragile peace they've built since the ranch sale. "You brought justice tonight, but at what cost to your boy?" Tate waits back at East Camp, unaware of how close his father came to not coming home. Case's internal struggle deepens here, and the writers nail the emotional weight. Flashbacks weave in sparingly, quick cuts to his SEAL days with Pete, to the moment he lost brothers in combat, mirroring the fear he feels now for Tate. Luke Grimes delivers these scenes with quiet intensity, his eyes carrying the burden of every choice. He returns home bruised and bloodied, finding Tate asleep but stirring at the sound of the door. The boy asks simple questions. "Dad, you okay?" And Case forces a smile, hiding the fresh scars. But the lie doesn't sit right. Monica's absence hangs heavy, implied as a recent loss that shattered their family, leaving Case as the sole protector. He tucks Tate back in, then steps outside under the stars, staring at the vast emptiness that once belonged to the Dutton legacy. It's a powerful, silent moment that builds suspense. How long can he keep this double life from breaking him? Back with the team, friction builds among the Marshals. Belle Skinner confronts Case about going rogue during the raid. His cowboy ways saved lives but nearly got Miles killed. "We have rules for a reason," she snaps, her tough exterior cracking to show real concern. Pete defends Case, their old bond evident, but even he warns that full commitment means no half measures. Andrea uncovers a lead. The militia's funding traces to shadowy donors, possibly connected to old ranching grudges or anti-government extremists who've been watching Broken Rock for years. The episode plants seeds of paranoia. Who can they trust? A suspicious glance from a local deputy, a cryptic phone call Pete takes in private. These small details keep the tension simmering. The climax of this section hits hard when the team raids a secondary safe house based on Andrea's intel. It's a trap. Armed men wait in ambush, turning the operation into a desperate firefight. Case takes point, using the terrain like he knows every inch. Because he does. He saves Belle from a sniper's crosshairs with a perfectly timed shot, earning her grudging respect. Miles, the rookie with deep reservation roots, proves his worth by talking down a frightened suspect who knows more than he lets on. They capture a mid-level player who spills under pressure. The bomber is planning a major strike at a tribal gathering, something that could ignite old conflicts and draw national attention. The clock is ticking. As the episode races toward its close in this part, Case stands at a crossroads. Pete offers him a badge officially. No more consulting, no more dipping in and out. You're one of us now, whether you like it or not. Case hesitates, thinking of Tate, of the quiet life he promised himself after Yellowstone fell. But Moe's words echo. Violence finds the Duttons. In a charged scene by a crackling fire at the reservation edge, Rainwater shares a story of his own losses, urging Case to fight not just for justice, but for the future Tate will inherit. The decision hangs in the balance, suspense thick as fog rolling off the mountains. Will Case say yes, fully stepping into this darker world? Or will he walk away only to be pulled back by the next inevitable threat? The screen fades on his face, torn, determined, unbreakable, leaving you on the edge, hungry for what's next in this unforgiving new chapter. The decision hits Case like a freight train rolling through the quiet night. Under the flickering light of a reservation bonfire, with Rainwater and Moe watching silently, he takes the badge from Pete's outstretched hand. "I'm in," Case says, voice low but steady. The weight of it settles on him instantly. Not just metal and leather, but the promise of more blood, more loss, more nights wondering if he'll make it home to Tate. This moment seals the new beginning promised in the episode's title, Pia Wiconi, but it's clear from the shadows in Luke Grimes' eyes that it's anything but peaceful. The team welcomes him with nods and quiet backslaps, but the air crackles with unspoken tension. They've caught foot soldiers, but the bomber, the real threat, is still out there plotting in the dark. The investigation intensifies as the episode pushes forward, layering suspense with every new clue. Andrea Cruz digs deeper into the militia's digital trail, uncovering financial links to out-of-state groups with deep pockets and deeper grudges. These aren't just angry locals. They're organized, funded, and connected to old wounds from the Yellowstone days. Land disputes, broken promises, and the kind of resentment that festers for generations. A name surfaces, Victor Lang, a former informant found dead weeks earlier, with a carved symbol matching the one from the raid. The message is brutal. Traitors burn. Andrea's screen lights up with maps showing surveillance points around Broken Rock, including spots overlooking Rainwater's home and even near East Camp, where Case and Tate live. The realization sinks in. This bomber isn't just targeting the tribe, he's targeting anyone who stands in the way of chaos. Case's first official day as a marshal throws him straight into the fire. Pete assigns him to lead a stakeout on a remote cabin flagged as a possible safe house. The team moves in under cover of darkness, breath fogging in the cold Montana air. Belle Skinner rides shotgun with Case, her sharp eyes scanning the tree line. "You sure about this?" she asks, voice edged with doubt. Case doesn't answer right away. He's thinking of Tate, asleep back home, oblivious to how close danger circles. The stakeout turns hot fast when movement inside the cabin triggers alarms. Doors burst open, armed figures spill out, and the night erupts again. Case takes down two suspects with precise shots, his SEAL training blending seamlessly with the martial tactics. But one gets away, vanishing into the woods like smoke. In the chaos, they find explosives, enough to level a gathering, and a photo pinned to the wall. Rainwater at a podium, red circle drawn around his head. Back at base, the pressure mounts. Miles Kittle, with his quiet connection to the land, shares intel from reservation contacts, whispers of a big event coming up, a tribal council meeting that could draw crowds and make the perfect target. Rainwater refuses to cancel it. "We won't live in fear," but the team knows the bomber is counting on that pride. Pete pulls Case aside for a raw, brother-to-brother talk. "This job eats you if you let it. You got a kid, you can still walk." Case shakes his head. "Walking away got people killed before. Not this time." The dialogue cuts deep, revealing the psychological toll. Pete's own nightmares from their SEAL days, Belle's hidden scars from a TPF ops gone wrong, Andrea's drive born from personal loss. The line. Suspense peaks in a nail-biting sequence as the team races to intercept a suspected delivery of bomb components. They track a truck through winding back roads, Case behind the wheel pushing the limits. Tires screech, engines roar, and when the driver spots them, he floors it. A high-speed chase ensues, dodging traffic, jumping ditches, until Case maneuvers to force the truck off the road. It flips in a shower of sparks and metal. The driver survives barely, and under interrogation, he cracks just enough. The bomber is someone they know, someone close, an insider feeding intel to the militia. Paranoia sets in. Who? A local deputy? A reservation contact? The betrayal stings worse than any bullet. As this section winds down, the episode delivers a gut-wrenching personal blow. Case returns to East Camp late, exhausted, to find Tate waiting up. The boy holds a drawing he made, a family portrait with empty spaces where Monica and others should be. "Dad, when's Mom coming back?" Tate asks innocently, but the question shatters Case. We get a brief, heartbreaking flashback hinting at Monica's fate, implied as a tragic loss tied to the Dutton world's violence, leaving Case as Tate's only anchor. He pulls his son close, promising protection, but his face tells the truth. The fight is just starting, and the cost is already too high. The screen lingers on Case staring into the darkness outside, badge glinting on his belt, as distant thunder rolls, like a warning that the storm is far from over. Enemies are closing in, secrets are unraveling, and trust is fracturing. With the tribal gathering looming and a traitor in their midst, the tension coils tighter than ever, leaving you desperate to know who survives the next move in this relentless hunt. The final stretch of Why, Marshals Season 1, Episode 1 unleashes everything it's been building toward, a relentless crescendo of betrayal, heartbreak, and explosive action that leaves no one untouched. With the tribal council gathering just hours away, the team scrambles to lock down every possible entry point to Broken Rock's main community hall. Case, now officially wearing the Marshal Star, patrols the perimeter with Miles, their boots crunching on frost-covered gravel. Every shadow feels like a threat, every passing vehicle a potential bomb run. Rainwater stands firm inside, addressing early arrivals with calm authority, refusing to show fear even as Mo whispers updates about the latest intel. The air is thick with anticipation. One wrong move, and the fragile peace shatters for good. Andrea's breakthrough comes at the worst possible moment. She traces a burner phone signal, bouncing off towers near the reservation. It's active, moving fast, heading straight for the gathering. "He's here," she says, voice tight. The team converges, Pete barking orders, Belle grabbing her rifle, Case already moving toward the threat like a predator sensing blood. They split into pairs. Case and Belle take the north approach through dense timber, Pete and Miles the south road, Andrea coordinating from the command van. The chase is on. Case spots the suspect first. A lone figure in dark gear slipping between parked trucks, backpack slung low. Suspense coils as Case closes the distance silently, heart pounding. He tackles the man just as the bomber reaches for a detonator. They roll across the ground in a brutal struggle, fists, elbows, the glint of a knife. Case disarms him with a savage twist, but not before the man snarls, "You Duttons always think you're untouchable. This is just the start." The words hit harder than the fight. Case pins him, breathing hard, staring into eyes filled with pure hate. The bomber laughs, a cold, broken sound, and reveals the twist that flips the entire episode. The insider feeding intel isn't a stranger. It's someone Pete trusted deeply, a former teammate from their SEAL days who turned after years of bitterness over government failures and lost brothers. The betrayal cuts Pete to the core when he arrives on scene and sees the face. "Why?" Pete demands, voice cracking. The answer is simple and devastating. Because no one came for us when it mattered. Now, no one comes for anyone. The revelation poisons the air. Trust within the team fractures in an instant. Belle lowers her weapon slightly, eyes darting between Pete and the cuffed man. Miles stands silent, processing how close the knife came to his own people. With the bomber in custody and the device neutralized, thanks to Andrea's quick remote jam, the immediate danger passes, but the damage lingers. Rainwater addresses the gathered crowd from the stage, turning the near catastrophe into a moment of defiance. "They tried to break us tonight. They failed." Cheers rise, but Case watches from the edge, badge heavy on his chest, knowing the war isn't over. Back at East Camp later that night, he finds Tate sitting on the porch steps, wrapped in a blanket, staring at the stars. The boy doesn't ask where he's been. He just says, "I heard sirens. Thought maybe." Case sits beside him, pulling him close. For the first time, he tells Tate a piece of the truth. Not the gore, but the why. Some people want to hurt the ones we care about. I can't let that happen. Not to you, not to anyone here. Tate nods, small but understanding, and whispers, "You're like Grandpa, aren't you? Always fighting." The line lands like a quiet thunderclap, connecting the Dutton legacy to this new path. The episode closes on a series of haunting images that cement its tone as Yellowstone's darkest sequel. Pete stands alone by his truck, staring at old photos from their SEAL days, the weight of betrayal etched into his face. Belle cleans her rifle methodically, hiding the tremor in her hands. Andrea deletes files she wasn't supposed to see, hints of deeper corruption reaching far beyond Montana. Mo shares a smoke with rainwater on a ridge overlooking the land, both men silent but resolute. In Case,